1993, North Korea. Ahn worked as a guard at prison camp 22. Now he is a truck driver, transporting prisoners between camps. During one drive, he asks a prisoner a question that will change everything. "Why are you here? What did you do?" The prisoner looks at him, confused. "I don't know," he says. "I was 2 years old when they brought me here." The prisoner is in his 20s now. He spent his entire conscious life inside this camp. So has his brother. Their whole family is dead, executed, and neither of them knows why. This is the story of Ahn Myong-chol, who spent 8 years watching people die. A man who was trained to see prisoners not as human beings, but as traitors deserving of punishment, until his own father spoke against the regime. Now his mother and siblings are arrested, and Ahn knows he's next. 1987. Ahn Myong-chol is 18 years old. In North Korea, being selected as a prison guard is not a punishment. It's an honor. A privilege reserved only for those from politically reliable families. Families who have proven their loyalty to the Kim regime across generations. Out of his entire district, only one person is chosen. It's him. He enters the army and is sent to Station 11 for training. The indoctrination begins immediately. Day after day, the message is drilled into him with mechanical precision. The prisoners are not like you. They are enemies of Kim Il-sung. They oppose the state. They are traitors. If they try to escape, you are allowed to shoot them. If they disobey, you are allowed to kill them. Young Ahn doesn't question this. Why would he? He's been chosen. He's special. He's on the right side of the fence. He's given an AK-47, pistols, a uniform that grants him absolute power over human life. More power, he will later reflect, than slave owners ever had, because at least slaves were given food. Here, in the camps, starvation is a tool, a weapon, a way to break what's left of a person's will. Ahn is stationed at Camp 22, a place designated as a total control zone. This is important. Total control means no one gets out, not ever, not for good behavior, not for rehabilitation. The only exit is death. For 8 years, this becomes his life. At first, it's easy. The prisoners are faceless, nameless. They're just bodies moving through forced labor, digging, carrying, dying. Ahn watches executions. He sees children starving. He participates in torture. He does this because he has been told it is right, because he has been told these people deserve it. But then something changes. Ahn becomes a truck driver. His job is to transport prisoners between camps. And in those trucks, during those long drives, something happens that he never expected. He talks to them, and they talk back. One conversation stands out above all others. Ahn asks a prisoner a simple question. "Why are you here? What did you do?" The prisoner looks at him, confused. "I don't know," he says. "I was 2 years old when they brought me here." The prisoner is in his 20s now. He's spent his entire conscious life inside this camp. So is his brother. Their whole family is dead, and neither of them knows why. This is when Ahn learns about the 3-generation rule, a doctrine created by Kim Il-sung himself. If one person commits a political crime, 3 generations are punished. The grandfather's generation, the father's generation, the son's generation. Whole families erased for the actions of one. These 2 brothers, now 24 and 26 years old, have spent over 2 decades in Camp 22 for something their grandfather might have done, something they never even learned about. Ahn begins to see the system for what it truly is. Not justice, not protection, just machinery, designed to consume human beings and leave nothing behind. He starts to question everything he was taught, but he's still a guard. He still wears the uniform. He still follows orders. Until 1994. Ahn is on leave, visiting his family, when the news arrives. His father is dead. Suicide. The reason? He questioned the regime's rationing system. A few words. A moment of doubt, spoken out loud. That's all it takes. Under North Korea's law of guilt by association, Ahn's mother and younger siblings are immediately arrested, sent to the very camps Ahn has been guarding for nearly a decade. And Ahn knows he's next. He's the eldest son. In North Korea, that means something. It means responsibility. It means he will be held accountable for his father's words. It means he will be sent to the other side of the fence. He has a meltdown, a complete psychological break. Because he's done nothing wrong. He's worked hard. He's been loyal. He's been a perfect servant of the state, but none of that matters. The system doesn't care about loyalty. It doesn't care about service. It only cares about control. And now, Ahn understands something crucial, something that will save his life. Because he's been inside the camps, because he knows exactly what awaits him on the other side of that fence, he has knowledge most North Koreans don't have. He knows what he's facing, and he decides he won't face it. Back at the camp, Ahn is being watched. There's a guard assigned to surveil him, to make sure he doesn't run, to make sure he accepts his fate. Ahn needs to get rid of this guard. He needs to earn back trust he'd never actually lost. So he does something desperate, something theatrical, something that will convince them of his loyalty. He writes a letter, in his own blood, a pledge of devotion to Kim Jong-il, words of absolute, unwavering allegiance, written in the only ink that could convince them he means it. It works. The surveillance stops. The guard is reassigned. Now Ahn has a choice to make. He could run alone, disappear into the night, swim the Tumen River into China, and never look back. But he thinks about those two brothers, the ones who've spent their entire lives in Camp 22, the ones who know nothing but barbed wire and starvation and cold concrete floors. He decides to save them. One night, after finishing his shift, Ahn arms himself, a K-47, several pistols. He's prepared for a firefight if it comes to that. He climbs into a prison truck, the engine starts, and he drives to where the two brothers are being held. He tells them to get in. He tells them they're leaving. He tells them they're going to be free. But here's the thing about spending your entire life in a cage. Even when the door opens, you don't always walk through it. The brothers are terrified. They've never known anything outside these walls. They've never known safety. They've never known what it means to not be a prisoner. And so, somewhere along the route, they make a decision. They get off the truck. They walk back into the darkness. Ahn is alone now. He's risked everything to save two people who couldn't be saved. Not because they didn't want freedom, but because they couldn't recognize it when it was offered. He drives to the Tumen River, the border between North Korea and China, between captivity and possibility. He abandons the truck, leaves the guns behind, and swims. The water is cold. The current is strong, but he makes it across. The moment Ahn escaped and crossed the Tumen River, a search party from the camp was immediately formed, and the river became surrounded by guards looking for him. After jumping into the Tumen River and swimming to the Chinese border, he spent his first night of freedom hiding from guards. 150 armed guards came all the way into Yanji in China just to catch him, and they tried to catch him in cooperation with Chinese soldiers. This means the manhunt wasn't just North Korean, it was international. Ahn had no time to really sense what China was like, or what its economic development was like. He was so desperate to escape from the massive search effort that he wasn't paying attention to how things were different in China. Thanks to assistance from the South Korean government, he was able to leave China. Otherwise, he thinks he would have been shot to death. He cannot share the details of his path from China to South Korea because there was a huge search effort from both China and North Korea to have him arrested. Ahn eventually makes it to South Korea, but freedom doesn't erase memory. It doesn't undo what he's done, what he's seen, what he's been. There's a famous North Korean defector named Kang Chol-hwan. He was a prisoner in the camps for 10 years. When Ahn arrives in Seoul, he meets Kang for the first time, and Ahn is afraid. Because Kang was a prisoner, and Ahn was a guard. The person he feared most in his new life was not a government agent or an assassin. It was a victim, someone he might have hurt, someone who had every reason to hate him. South Korea is shocking in other ways too. Ahn watches people on television openly criticize the president. They call politicians corrupt. They demand accountability. Even years after defecting, Ahn struggles to do this himself. The brainwashing runs that deep. Even in freedom, the conditioning remains. But slowly, something shifts. Ahn realizes that he can't undo the past. He can't bring back the people who died. He can't erase his role in their suffering. But he can do something else. He can tell the truth. Today, Ahn Myong-chol is one of North Korea's most important human rights activists. He founded an organization called NK Watch. Along with his colleagues, he's documented the suffering of hundreds of victims. He submitted over 700 detailed petitions to the United Nations Human Rights Office. And here's the most remarkable part. He works alongside Kang Chol-hwan, the prisoner and the guard, the victim and the perpetrator. Together, they're trying to bring about change. They send USB drives into North Korea, drives loaded with Wikipedia pages, foreign media, information that the regime doesn't want its people to see. Ahn Myong-chol spent 8 years as a prison guard in North Korea's most brutal camps. He was both attacker and victim, both instrument of oppression and target of the same system he served. He tried to save 2 prisoners and failed. But in the decades since, he's saved countless others. Not by breaking them out of physical prisons, but by breaking the chains of ignorance that keep North Korea's system alive.